Obviously it's a personal choice what people do, but I know that quite a large number of people we've spoken to are looking at actually going on a match by match basis next season, and that may be for a number of reasons, not just because of the current ownership, but simply because the demand isn't there in the same way that it was, and you can pretty much pick up tickets for any game you want to nowadays. And so what it does is it allows you to only pay for the games that you're actually going to attend. One of the problems we've had over recent years, especially with the compulsory automatic cup scheme, has meant that supporters have been forced to buy tickets for every game even if they can't attend the game. And then with the drop in demand for tickets, it's meant that if you can't attend, you can't sell it on either, because there isn't demand, except for the bigger games, but for the smaller games. And so I think what we'll probably see next season is a shift, with quite a large number of people moving towards a match by match basis versus current season ticket holders, rather than any kind of concerted boycott. So yeah, I mean that's how I perceive it. But in terms of what supporters might feel they can do immediately. But I think there are a number of other pressures that will be taken into consideration by the Glaziers. Not least, actually, there's been a story in the press this morning talking about government intervention, looking at ownership of football clubs and effectively putting in place legislation which would force football clubs to offer a share in ownership to supporters. And this is likely to appear certainly in the Labour Party manifesto, and hopefully this will get a response from the other political parties as well ahead of the election. We're still at the stage at this point that we need to grow our communication network. As I said, I mean, yeah, 150,000 is fantastic, but we want to reach out to a much bigger group than that, particularly match day, match game fans, because obviously they're key in terms of the finance that they bring to the club, and so there's I suppose a perceived threat to future revenue if they're not looked after in the appropriate way by the owners. But also going out much wider than that. So really, I mean, we're trying to appeal to every United supporter around the world, and what we're really saying is that we believe there's going to be an opportunity shortly to share in the ownership, and we want to offer that to every supporter because we think it's good for the club. It's the right structure, and why wouldn't anybody want to own shares in their club? It seems to me that that's a natural and obvious thing you'd want to do. There are plenty of people who say that I'm a United fan and I don't want to wear anything other than red, and I don't think that's a problem. What we don't want to do is create a divisive situation. We want to be unified, and I think that's actually what's made the campaign so far very powerful, is that it's not calling for things that we've perceived as divisive actions. Everybody in the stadium is feeling unified, and that's actually presenting, I think, a major concern to the owners, seeing that sort of display inside the stadium. So yeah, I mean, I think really it's about us growing that communication network and trying to get everybody on board, rather than calling for any specific actions. What we certainly don't want to see is spectacular protests that effectively peak the campaign, and then where do you go from there? If you have something that everyone goes, wow, that's amazing, well, what do you do next game? You've got to actually have some sustainability about it, and I think the beauty of the Green and Gold campaign is that people putting on a scarf each match, that's grown in numbers, and it's sustainable in that respect. Whereas if you'd said, right, we're going to have some kind of march or protest, well, how do you sustain that, or how do you make it grow every game? I think that would be quite difficult. So I think it's it's a really effective mechanism, and almost you don't need to do much more at this point. I think the whole thing's got to build and actually coincide with an offer going down that's a good offer, so that then the uncertainty is left in the current owners' minds that here's a good profit on the table, that's an uncertain future, and then it makes the decision easier.